Boom. And we're live. Everyone's going to have to get used to this.
It's a little
different. A new perspective. Let's see. I'm working out some kinks with this, so we'll see how this goes. We're just going to hang out and wait for people to join. Awesome. We're starting to get people on.
Ben Holly joined.
Yeah, I gotta be able to see the comments. Let's go like this. Sorry, I have my computer over here, which is
we're working out some kinks.
And then there's gonna
be a special announcement pretty soon. I guess I'll start introducing or talking about us.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is Ben and I'm Isaac. We're interns here at Green Pastures Farm. A lot of you know who we are. Some of you don't, and if you don't, welcome to the live stream. This is something we do every Sunday night at roughly 7:30. There's going to be some changes made to it. It's still going to be same time, same place, right?
Yeah. So
roughly.
Yeah. So basically, for people who are not familiar with what's going on right now, this is Chewing the Cud. This is a weekly live stream on Sunday nights where we sit down at the kitchen table and discuss things related and unrelated to regenerative agriculture. And it's been a great thing, like for us. Like, we really love doing this every week, and we think we've built this really cool little community around it. And there's a lot of like cool conversations that happen on a weekly basis and ideas bouncing back and forth and that kind of thing. And so what I really wanted to do is I want to take this and sort of just elevate it to the next level. And tonight is the start of that. And so that's the reason why we're tipped sideways as opposed to like normally vertical. And so essentially there's going to be a slightly new format for Chewing the Cud. It's still going to be the same time, the same place on Instagram, the live stream, except it's going to be slightly different. So the way it's going to work is these live streams starting today and moving forward are going to have a specific topic related to the live stream. So it'll be like an example of some topics that we got coming up are location is everything, choosing an enterprise, the cattle business, the sheep business, infrastructure, specifically water, infrastructure, fence and handling, appropriate stocking, livestock handling, spring flush, drought, fall grazing, winter management, on and on and on and on. So each one of those topics is going to be a singular episode of Chewing the Cud. And so I'm going to, and Isaac's going to, we're going to prep a series of ideas and thoughts and suggestions for the first chunk of the live stream. And whether that's like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever that is. And so it'll be like sort of targeted towards that specific topic. And then after that first chunk of the stream, we're then going to open it up to questions, and it's going to be essentially the exact same way that it's always been, which is the back and forth, like you guys steering the conversation into wherever we want it to go. And if there are any questions, obviously, that are thrown out like during that first initial rant, we're going to scroll back through them and make sure we get to everybody. But it's basically just two parts. One is going to be the prepared part, and the second part is going to be the live session that everybody's come to know and love. And so that's part A of the new Chewing the Cud.
Wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more. The second piece to this thing, which I'm really excited about to try to work through, is there's going to be a YouTube component to this. So what's going to start happening with this episode later this week, I'll put a link in my bio when it's up and running, but there's going to be a YouTube channel called Chewing the Cud where these full-length episodes are going to be uploaded. So we'll stream it live on Instagram, and then that week at some point I'm going to upload the full-length episode, the hour-long session or whatever, to YouTube. And then what I'm going to do also is take that episode and I'm going to cut it up into like useful clips. So if there's a question that we answer that's that I think is super valuable, or that first topic section of the new format of Chewing the Cud, like if we're talking about water infrastructure, that piece about water infrastructure is going to be cut out as a separate video clip and posted also to that same YouTube channel. So there's going to be like just another way that you can view this after the fact on YouTube, and you'll be able to, if you're like, man, like I wonder if they've talked about anything about like livestock guardian dog training or something like that, you'll be able to go to the YouTube channel and look in the clips playlist for like that specific clip when we talk about that. And so it'll just be a lot easier to index for people, I feel like, and bring like more value
It'd be
to
more valuable
everybody.
to you guys.
Yeah. It'll be less free form. There'll be a little bit more structure to it, but I think like the information is going to be a lot easier to access, and a little bit more organized.
And the nice thing about having, so like with the structure, there'll also be the ask the question component to it.
Yep.
So then like any questions you that are live have, we'll answer them about the topic or really whatever. But
yep. So that's sort of my thought, like moving forward, as far as like the nuts and bolts of the new version of the stream is concerned. So we're still going to be, if you like the live component of it and you want to be a part of that and the back and forth and asking questions to us in real time, just keep doing it on Instagram keep following on Instagram, because that's where this is going to happen, this interactive thing. But if you want to view this in sort of a cleaner format with more like cut out clips of stuff after the fact, there's going to be a YouTube channel that I'm going to create specifically for Chewing the Cud. So that'll be exciting. And there's one more piece to the new version of Chewing the Cud. So this new format that I was talking about, where we sit down at the kitchen table, come up with a specific topic, and then break out into a live session after that, is going to be one kind of Chewing the Cud episode. I also want to start incorporating a second type of Chewing the Cud episode where I bring on and dual stream with some interesting people in the regenerative agriculture space. And so it'll basically be more of like a podcast format where we'll stream in somebody, and it could be you. You never know. We'll stream in somebody.
Maybe we'll do like whatever you call it, like a giveaway where you guys get. Like,
we'll see. The opportunities are they're endless. It's just getting creative with it. But anyway, we're gonna start bringing on guests every once in a while, and it'll be sort of like a podcast format for the first chunk of time. These are going to be a lot longer too. Mm-hmm. I'm anticipating that the guest episodes are going to be a lot longer, because I don't want to time constrain anybody. I just want to go as long as it's interesting, and we're gonna like go back and forth with them for the first chunk of the stream, and then after that it'll just be open to questions for the guest and for us to sort of like go back and forth with, that you guys will put forward. And those most likely won't be on Sundays. They're going to be like whenever we can schedule a good time for the guest and us at the same time. So to recap, new format of Chewing the Cud, structured topic on every episode, and then we'll break out into the normal freeform questions. There's going to be a YouTube channel created specifically for Chewing the Cud, where you'll be able to watch both the full-length episode and then specific clips from those episodes on the YouTube channel as well. I'll put a link in my bio when that's up. And then there's going to be guest episodes of Chewing the Cud that'll happen irregularly, where we'll bring somebody on podcast style for the first chunk, and then Q&A session for the second chunk.
It's going to be sweet.
It's going to be sweet. And there's going to be a lot of technical difficulties that I'm going to be working through, so it'll get smoother as we go on, but I think it's going to elevate it to the next level. So
who knows how far to go? Maybe some of you guys are the first to see it, happen this way, which is kind of cool.
Yep. So that's it. That's all I had for this
That
new
was
format.
our new
that
format.
was our new format. So that was the structured chunk, which is the introduction of the new format, and now we'll open it up to our normal session, our normal Q&A, live streams. I know that I said I was starting at 7:30, which is right about now, so people are probably going to start tuning on. But yeah, we can start off with some things that happened this week and see if that starts to jog anybody's memory or any sort of spurs any questions or something like that. So
We've got the puppies. A lot of them. All kinds of puppies.
all kinds.
We've been letting out. So was that this week that we did that? We put the Goldens. Yeah, it was this week. So we've got four groups of puppies that we call the Rascals, which are the ones that we got first. The first puppies we had this year, or I guess last year. Then we got Sheila's pups, which what are they, the Munchkins? No, that's down at the house.
Just Sheila's puppies.
Sheila's puppies. Jan came up with a name for them, but we call them Sheila's pups. Then there's, we call her Sarah, the wild dog. She had pups that we kind of like caught. You guys caught her. I wasn't here. And those are called the Munchkins. And then we 2 weeks ago we got what we call the Goldens, and they're another batch of pups from the same producer that sold us the Rascals.
Mm-hmm.
And so the four groups of pups we got in some like different parts of training or whatever. This week we put the Goldens, which is our newest batch, in netting around in the sheep paddock to get them used to the guard dogs and the sheep and stuff. And we've been every day we've been releasing one pup at a time out into the pack, so to speak. So that's been, I don't know, it's interesting that there's always something that happens. But
we got a comment. My husband George wants one.
Yeah, well,
how do you get one?
How do you get one? Go to greenpasturesfarm.net. Find Jan's email. I don't know, her email might be on there. If it's not, email Greg Judy. I think it's GT Judy at.
No, it's GT Judy. There's some numbers associated with it too.
GT Judy 90 something, or I don't know. There's his email's on there. Find his email or Jan's email, and email them, letting them know that you want a guard dog pup.
And there is if you want one, email her, right? Because someone's asking how long is the wait list for the guardian dogs. We have enough dogs as far as we're concerned where there's no wait list currently. It's just waiting for the dogs to get properly trained to the various stages that they need to be trained at.
Yeah.
And so if you're interested in one, they're starting to sell. So get on that and email Greg or Jan. Get in touch with them and tell them that you're interested in purchasing a livestock guardian dog, because once they start to go, they're gonna go.
She said Jan hasn't emailed them back yet.
Maybe
try emailing again, because sometimes what happens is Greg gets so many emails, and if you email Jan, she could just be taking a while to get to it, but she's usually pretty good at keeping up on it. So maybe try sending it again, or if you're seriously interested in it though, you specifically, who is it? 3 Wild Daisies. If you're seriously interested in it, DM me, DM me, and I'll get you Jan's email. Yeah. And make sure that you get in contact with her. So message me, and we'll sort it out, because there's definitely dogs available. If they haven't responded to you, it's just that they haven't found the email yet. Yep.
And we can help expedite that process, because we value our Chewing the Cud.
That's right.
Our Chewing the Cud viewers.
That's right. You guys are
special treatment.
Loyal.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, for sure. That's cool. We've got plenty of guard dogs, and there's some good ones in there. I mean, they're still so young, but
they're shaping up to be pretty good.
Yeah, they're especially some of those Rascals. They're good dogs.
Yep. So. What else happened this week? Oh, the lamb.
Oh,
that was a big thing. I made a post about that.
Yeah, that was good.
So we butchered. Well, we slaughtered and butchered 3 withers this week, and that was a super cool experience.
Oh, nice.
There were 2 of them were 2 years old roughly, and one of them was a year old, less than a year old.
Yeah, 9 months or something. 8
and so
months.
like the 2-year-old technically is
mutton.
But my God, that thing was unbelievable.
Oh.
It looked so good when it was butchered.
It's so much pearly white fat on it.
I rendered a bunch of
dark meat,
lamb fat, and there was good marbling on one of those big ones. Whew, so good. It was really cool because like we butchered them ourselves, or we skinned and gutted them.
We did everything ourselves.
Yeah, and then when we went to butcher them, one of Jan's friends and her husband came over, and they buy a whole lamb from Greg and Jan every year, and they butcher it themselves at their home, and so they're very like particular about the way that they cut their lambs up, and so like Greg wanted to see how they did it, and so they came over, and the big group of us all did all the withers, and the first one took about an hour and a half because it was a lot of not knowing what cut to make and waiting for instruction, and then the second two probably took less than 30 minutes apiece.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so
they took the second two took less time than the first one.
Yeah.
The second two combined
took less time than the first one that we did. It was so cool, seeing how all those cuts get put together.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Greg made a YouTube video, or he shot a YouTube video. I don't know if he posted it or not yet, but that's on the horizon.
Yep.
He actually did 2. I don't know if he's gonna post the first one or not. Probably, but
yep.
Yeah, it was super cool. I've butchered and processed pigs and venison and chickens before. Not growing up. That's what we did. We've never done a lamb, and we've never done cuts of meat. We've always just with a pig we made pork chops, boneless pork chops or whatever. And sometimes we'd leave the bone in and we had a little bandsaw. But most of the time it was get the chops, maybe a ham, and then just grind the rest up.
Yep.
And maybe a few roasts. And same way with the venison. The venison, it was more grind everything up except for the tenderloins, and maybe a few roasts. So doing walking through where the cuts of how to get lamb rib chops or lamb sirloin steak or leg of lamb, that was super cool.
Super cool.
It was so much fun and something that we're gonna remember how to do now.
Yeah, it's not that hard. Once you know where all the cuts are supposed to go, it just goes. It's just getting the instruction to know where to make the cut, where to make the saw, what joint you're looking for, that type of a deal.
Yeah.
And of course there's there's so many different ways you could butcher one. And it's we learned one way.
Yeah, but if you wanted different cuts, you could do it totally different.
Yeah, but the way that the way we learned was super simple, and it was a lot of fun. We got George Heller. Got his withers butchered today. He had commented that he was a little bit apprehensive about doing that, but he got him butchered today. And it says he'd be on here, but his account wasn't working. So yeah. That's cool. Super cool. It's always a big moment when the work actually comes to a head. You know what I mean? So that's cool. Yeah. That was a crazy experience.
What else happened?
What else happened this week? We had a snowstorm. We got probably 3 or 4 inches of snow.
Enough to kind of stall things a little bit.
And of course, we had a calf born the night after the snowstorm.
Oh man!
It was
It was the night
wet.
of.
Yeah, it was the night of. It was wet and wet and cold. Wet and cold and windy. It wasn't our fault. People were you took the bulls out. How did you get a calf in January? And it's we did take the bulls out. There's no way we would have gotten a calf in January, but we bought the heifer from somebody over the summer who didn't take his bull out, and so it was bred by his bull, not our bull. It was technically Greg's genetics, just a couple generations down the line. Yep. So it's technically Greg's bull, but he didn't take it out at this guy's place, and so we ended up having the calf in January.
It went as good as it could have.
Oh,
it
could have gone so bad. And first calf heifer
in the snow.
I
how bad can that get? It just can get awful.
And the calf
it
is
works good.
super healthy now, and she was great through the whole thing.
Yeah. We set the tag it, but
yeah, we probably should have tagged it tonight, but
yeah, he was kind of going.
he was going. I was watching him like, oh man, we probably should have tagged that sucker.
It's all right. We've tackled
much older ones.
Much older and much. Remember when we caught 80 when she had that.
Yeah.
That.
It's like, oh.
She was like a month old.
Yeah.
Because she had that respiratory
problem, and so
I think Greg ended up grabbing her.
Yeah.
Like he was the one that snuck up and got her.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't get her. Whatever.
All right.
That was fun.
Are you guys struggling to find kill dates for your grass-fed steers? 2 and 3 waiting list.
Yeah, we don't do very many grass-fed steers as far as customers.
In the first place, yeah.
I think we have 2 or 3 spots. Jan does at the local abattoir so it's like somebody that they've, gone to since he started, really. And so, like, they're loyal customers, and he's pretty loyal to them. And so they got in, without too much of a hassle. But it's like next June before they can get in. But that, all things considered, that's pretty soon compared to like what a lot of people are dealing with. Yeah. So.
But it's true. Like it's not a main part of the business. Most of the steers get sold as live animals to somebody else for them to finish, and so like it has been a problem. Like we basically, whenever we butchered twice since we've been here, and it's just like whenever the date is, like we gotta go, because the first time we did it, they were properly finished for sure. The second time, it would have been nice. If we could have hung on to them for a little bit longer.
Did she sell those to people?
I don't know if she did or not.
I don't know if we even got the beef from that. I think she must have.
No, she had to have. That was a while ago.
Because we ate the the big fat boys.
Big fat boy.
They were good.
Oh, yeah.
We ate them.
Yeah.
We've got that meat, but then.
Yeah.
I don't think. She must have sold them to somebody.
She must have either sold them or they're in the 8 chest freezers.
But that thing was packed before.
Yeah, it was.
I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Let's see. We just picked up 10 Katahdins to start ours. Can't wait to butcher some. Yeah.
Sheep are delicious. My favorite meat, probably, if it was a gun to my head.
Lamb and duck. So good. Good.
He's gonna make me some duck.
Yeah, we gotta talk to Moe's and find some Amish guy who raises some ducks. Yeah. I bet there is one.
There's gotta be. As many Amish as there are, and how adventurous they are, or not adventurous, but
like industrious as far as raising animals and trying to make a buck. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Anybody got any questions, comments about?
We're all yours.
Snowstorms, calving in the wintertime, which should never happen.
It's spring calving. What do you mean?
Butchering, technically, butchering lambs. I don't know, raising your own meat.
I saw an Instagram reel today. It was talking about castrating, and she was saying how
castrating what?
Bulls. She's like something like when you castrate or when you leave bulls longer, they grow better. She's like false. When you blah 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 blah, like all these things that we are totally for. She's like false. I'm just like
yeah.
Don't even know.
Yeah.
So you're gonna no.
Yeah.
We don't need to come
anyway.
Unless you guys want.
Here we go. Is there a good way to tie polybraid together when you accidentally snap it? So you mean, I'm assuming you're talking about like on the reel itself, like when you snap it.
Like when you break
if it breaks or whatever, it's a pain in the butt, because even if you tie the tiniest knot, it still will catch like coming through the posts.
The knot we use is a square knot, just
really like get that thing as tight as you can, because if it's big, like if it's like a bulky knot, it'll get caught on everything.
You're gonna lose some conductivity, though, which you can't really avoid it unless you tie like 3 knots. But then it's so hard to reel.
If it's like in the middle of the reel, like just tie it and just hope for the best.
Yeah.
If it's towards the end and you've got like 12 feet or even like 10 feet or 20 feet or whatever of like poly braid, it might just be worth.
Even if you've got 50 feet, I would, or 100 feet.
I would just cut it off.
Yeah, I just have a smaller reel.
The amount of aggravation that you're gonna go through with it catching on stuff is like only worth it if you're gonna basically ruin an entire reel to do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Will it short out without a certain tide? No, it won't.
No, it won't short out. It just won't carry the voltage through
as well as like an intact wire.
If you're using braid that has 6-strand steel filaments and 3 copper, the good stuff, it'll go through.
It won't short though, unless you're tying some like weird like loose knot, and there's no reason you would want to do that anyway.
Yeah, but even
then, I don't know if it would short
because
the whole thing's electrified.
Yeah, it's grounded.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think you'd be fine. I did see something in the Timeless catalog. It's like a little like crimp deal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? It's like that. Looked like it was that long. Let me go.
Please hold. I'll answer another question while you're gone. Let's see. No winter calves. LOL. This will be our first year having sheep and cattle on the same farm. That's cool. It's always cool to have two different species like working together. There's a lot of synergistic benefits, but the one thing I would just say is you can't just add sheep and expect there to be the same consumption of like forage, as in they don't eat the completely different forage from cattle. They're going to consume some of the same stuff, and so you're going to need to like adjust for that. You're going to need to make sure you give them an adequate amount of forage for like the increase in head that you have, so to speak, if that makes sense.
I don't know if this would be something you'd want to look into, but you probably can't read it.
It's probably backwards for them,
but that's what it looks like.
What's it called?
It's a polyrope connector. It says Litz clip. Look, go on. I mean, I'm sure there's like a company that sells them.
Yeah.
That might go through a reel. It's flat.
Yeah, it's also like $9 for a pack of 5.
Oh yeah, but if you have one crimp,
yeah.
And if it'll save you, if it's in the middle of your reel, it might be something worth looking into.
Yeah, it's called Litz.
I'm not supporting it.
No, it may be absolute junk.
Yeah, I'm not backing it up. Never tried it. That's just something I saw.
Yeah.
There's also the steel one, but you wouldn't want that. But it says polyrope connector too, so it's probably bigger.
It might be bigger.
The gold rope.
The gold rope.
Well, that might not be what you want, but
yeah, that might be for that. Just tie a knot and see how it goes. If you got 50 feet of it at the end of it, just cut it off. If it's in the middle, then you can wrestle with it until you get fed up and buy a new length of polybraid.
But square knot is what we usually do, just because if you need to get it apart, you can, but it's a pretty strong knot, and if you tie it right, it lays together pretty well, small.
Yep.
We gotta start reading the questions.
Yeah, no. Here we go. What's your future? What's your say on the Brahman breed? I think that, like anything, I think there's we don't have any experience, first of all, with Brahman. So like the only thing is stuff that what we've heard, but I mean obviously they're pretty heat tolerant cattle.
They're hardy.
They're hardy cattle, and so they look really funny though. Like just like if you're selling to a sale barn, it's gonna be tough sledding.
They have a bad name in the sale barn because they're something like their cutability or their meat quality is not very good. They don't have very good quality. They don't finish out very well.
However, that being said, I still think that like with all these kinds of breeds like Brahman or Corriente or like anything that's like not like for that's not something that's like desirable, as in like not like a desirable cattle breed for the market. I think it's like there's so many benefits to those breeds that it's a prime candidate for incorporating it into like a hybrid of like a South Pole or something of that ilk and something else. Maybe. To like give a little bit more a little bit more heat tolerance, a little bit more hardiness,
get
whatever.
Some Corrientes.
Yeah.
Corrientes are cool cattle.
So,
but
yeah,
they're cheap. That's another thing.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like
those
like
breeds,
with the Corrientes.
I don't know about Brahmin if they're
Yeah, I don't know
cheap
if
or
they are
not,
not. But like with Corrientes, which I don't know if you're not familiar with, it's like the steers that they use in like rodeos for roping.
they were
Like,
I think they were brought over by the Spanish,
Yeah.
like back in the 1700s.
they're fine boned or like small leggy cattle that
can
are very heat
literally
tolerant.
eat wood chips.
Yeah, and survive.
Yeah.
And nobody will pay anything for them. But
We gotta stop promoting these things because the prices
but
can start going
that's
up.
where the secret lies. If you can buy, let's just give a hypothetical scenario. You buy these Corriente cows for $200 a head or something. Let's just say $400 a head. That's probably really high, but $400 a head for a cow. You breed it. You buy your best, maybe South Pole bull you can get. You breed them to the South Pole bull. Then you get a Corriente South Pole cross. It looks kind of like a Corriente, kind of like a South Pole. All of a sudden, you've raised an animal that now will bring $600, dollars at the sale barn or something. Then, or if you
This
keep
is
the
just
heifers,
hypothetical.
yeah, if you keep the heifers and you breed the same South Pole bull back to her, then you've got a 3/4 South Pole. That's basically a South Pole animal, and now you can sell it. If you're selling to a sale barn, maybe you'll get close to $1,000 for
So
full animal. Or if you're selling seed stock or private
like-
treaty, you can get
yeah.
even more than that. So
you're
it's
like increasing the value of
Yeah.
an undervalued breed, but that has some good qualities.
Yeah.
Like that, and you're taking advantage of those and
Yeah.
breeding them into something that has some value. And then you get this rockin' hybrid cross that just like,
Corriente
just
is
so
like,
hard.
if you're like in Arizona, that's what you should do. Corriente is South Pole
You
cross.
heard it here first. We gotta stop. I feel like we talked about Corrientes a fair amount.
Because they're sick.
Um,
They can make it on
Yeah.
hardly anything. You can beat the crap out of them and they'll still survive.
Let's see.
If you're getting into it and you don't know what you're doing, that's the breed to do it because you'll learn and it's not gonna kill you.
All right. Really curious about running them all together. He's talking about sheep and cattle. We're currently running a couple heifers with a sheep, no problem. Yeah, that's always a cool way to. Flirts are the way to go.
If we could do it, we would run the sheep and the cattle simultaneously together.
We just can't do it because the guard dogs and like where we run the cattle is too close to other people's houses. And
Think
so
about it. You've got one herd. That's one set of chores to do. One poly wire to put up and roll back.
If your sheep are properly trained.
Yep. One. It just simplifies things. So plus, like that's not even talking about the
Parasite vacuuming and
the sheep will vacuum up the cow's parasites and the cows will vacuum up the sheep parasites and they're
It's
dead end hosts. So.
Yep. There's a bunch of good things about that. Any suggestions on using the Terragate reel? I was rolling wire and it jumps out of the track and wraps around the axle. Any way to avoid this?
If you have the guard, that helps a lot. But it definitely does happen to us too.
Yeah. But a tip would also be like if you have the ribs. So if these are the ribs of your white ribs of your Terragate reel, and your poly braid is filling up the inside of it, don't fill the poly braid all the way up to the very tippy top of the rim. Like if it's full, all the way full, you're like, oh yeah, I got a big roll of wire on here. Like I'll be able to go a nice long distance with it. It will jump on you so many times unless you're like a wizard with Terragate reels, and we even get them tangled all the time. Like don't have it full all the way. Like cut off a section of your poly braid so that it's down a little bit from that lip. It'll save you so much hassle with it jumping out of the reel. The other thing is if you're using your four-wheeler to if you have a mount on your four-wheeler and you're driving and to unwind the reel, if you take a handkerchief and you tie it over the metal cross piece right on top of that I literally just used the word the
Cross
rib right on top of that rib, it'll add some friction to the reel and it'll keep it from backspinning on you, which when you slow down or stop for some reason, which will keep it from tangling up into a bird's nest. So just a couple little tips, but not a full reel, and maybe try using a little clutch.
And try to so with that, if you have that plastic guard on there, if you're rolling and you're not paying attention to the wire and it stays in the single spot, it can wear a little rivet in that guard. So then whenever the wire gets in there, it doesn't want to come out of there when you're reeling it up.
Yeah.
So what we do is we make sure we kind of twist the reel so it's going on like if that's the whatever the thing
the guard, the guide,
ribs,
the ribs. Yeah,
it's going in between both of them as you're rolling up the wire is. So.
Yep. Yeah, they're just they just take a little bit to get used to, and the reason why you run into issues with them is because it's 3 to 1. Like so like one rotation is 3 spins of the wheel.
You had a nasty tangle the other day.
Well, what happened was I shot myself in the foot because I thought I was untangling it and I went backwards, and so like I was pulling from the wrong end, from the wrong one, and I went all the way to the end, and then it wouldn't, like the last loop was too small to slip over either direction, and so I was like, oh damn, and then we had to like undo, like I tangled it worse, like going the opposite way.
Oh no.
And then so we had to pull it back and undo it and like run like 100 yards of it out into the pasture, and then we got it done. But
oh man.
Yeah, it happens.
You were there for a while.
It happens.
It does. Happens to the best of us. Happens to Greg all the time.
Yep.
It's so funny when
he gets so annoyed.
Oh.
We try not to laugh, and we're not laughing at him. We're just laughing at like how worked up he gets about it.
Yeah. Oh man, no, we're laughing at him for sure.
Yeah, keep the wire pulled tight works. Yeah, if you can keep tension on the braid, like whenever you're doing anything, it'll help it from tangling up.
Yep.
All right, here we go. I'm looking at some Dexters. In the future,
another good one.
Once I had a bigger herd. In the future, once I had a bigger herd, would a South Pole be good to breed over Dexter for a more marketable carcass versus the homesteady Dexter?
Yes. South Pole is, you can pretty much bet that unless you're like way up north, that a South Pole is a good breed to mix with any breed that you have.
Yeah, like you said, really the only thing is cold temperatures.
And some South Poles have a lot of hair and do fine because they've got Red Angus and Hereford in them that they have enough hair to do it. With the Dexters, you hit it head on when you said the cut, or what did you say?
The marketable carcass.
Marketable carcass. That's what you really run into with the Dexters is if you go to sell it at the sale barn or whatever, you're not going to get hardly anything for it because it's
for people who aren't
abnormal.
Familiar, it's incredibly short.
Yeah,
they're incredibly
small,
which means they're really easy keeping
and really efficient on grass.
Yeah,
they are so much more efficient than even like South Poles, really.
Just because it's a smaller animal.
And so like sheep are way more efficient than cattle. That's because they're smaller animals. Same way with like the Dexter. Which Dexters aren't as small as sheep, but
the Dexters are about this big. No, they're not like crazy. I mean,
they're like small cattle.
Yeah.
Like what, 600 pounds?
I don't know what the weight would be.
But yes, if you breed, and you might want to breed a smaller frame South Pole bull. Don't just get any. There's a lot of people breeding South Poles right now that are not small like Greg's. And Greg's cattle aren't small, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Make sure you get a small frame bull, something that's going to mature out. Ideally, for your situation, right at like 1,000 pounds is probably as heavy as I'd want to go. Maybe 1,100. South Pole are pretty easy calvers.
You got a great question.
Yeah, they're pretty easy calvers. Greg was telling us the story of a guy that got some Dexters and bred a small frame Charolais bull to the Dexters.
People who aren't familiar with Charolais is like the biggest boned animal you can imagine.
And he calved, like he did fine. He only had to pull like one calf or something. And the thing of it is he took those Dexters that you wouldn't, he bought these Dexters for really cheap. They were good cattle, bred this Charolais bull to him, and the offspring were half Charolais, and he really, it's the same thing, he increased the value of his product from parents to offspring. The value went up, and so he made money that way. But yeah.
Yep,
for sure.
Super cool. Dexters are another one of those breeds.
Yep.
That we've talked about amongst ourselves. I don't think we've talked about it that much on the stream, but
no, probably not.
All right. Would a South Pole bull survive in South Africa?
Yeah.
I don't know how you could get it to South Africa though. Like unless
didn't someone ship him to Australia or something?
I don't know.
There was something where somebody was trying to ship like a herd of cows, like 50. You remember Greg talking about that?
Yeah.
Like 50 cows.
Yeah, wanted to ship like 50
or
cows.
They were wanting to.
I don't think they ended up doing it. But Yeah, that's the only thing is like how would you get them there? But
If you could get,
if you could get South Pole in South Africa, I don't see why it wouldn't. You know what I mean? Like
you should get a
The
hold
only-
of, you should get a
a
hold
hold
of
of Ian.
Ian, because he's got 4,000 head of cattle
I think
that he's
I think he
selectively
has
bred.
like beef
Beef
are they
masters or something like that.
Yeah.
But he's selectively bred. It was, I think his son's running it now.
yeah.
Has selectively bred for grass genetics
In South Africa.
for a long time.
Yeah. Ian Mitchell Innes. I don't know what his
If you're-
son's name is.
Are they from South Africa?
Yeah, I think so.
Man, do you guys have it tough there? 'Cause we've heard stories, many stories.
Yeah.
from
So
breeding.
I don't know why it wouldn't though. I mean, the only thing would be like if it's drier, like significantly drier, like we just talked about, it might make sense to mix in like a Brahma or
whatever's more
whatever's more
prevalent
like-
down there.
yeah, whatever's more productive in your environment. It's always a good idea to like incorporate some of those genetics in there. Yep.
That was a good one.
Instead of focusing, it's the whole deal is like instead of focusing on a breed, you should be focusing on just an animal that'll
Do
well on with your management on grass in your environment. It could look purple. You know what I mean? Like it
Purple
doesn't.
cow.
But if they're just absolute kick ass, like and you're smart about it, you'll find a way to market them to somebody.
Yeah.
So
Well, because it's just so
let's take a trip. I've got a boat. LOL. Yeah, I'd be down.
I'd be down too. I want to go see
South Africa would be so cool.
Maybe we'll go on. Maybe we should go on a trip to see Ted or not Teddy. Ian.
See Ted Gentry in South Africa.
South Pole. That'd be cool. Just hope I don't get shot. or
I
murdered.
think we'll make it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
Any more questions? These have been good.
They've
Been a good session.
Good.
While people are thinking, I'll do a recap of what we talked about at the very, very beginning of the stream.
Yes.
The reason that we're sideways as opposed to vertical is because there's a new format for Chewing the Cud starting this week where the first chunk of it is going to be a specific topic, such as water infrastructure or sheep or like starting a livestock guardian dog business or whatever is going to be the topic. We're going to go over it for the first 20, 30 minutes of the session, and then it's going to open up any questions that were asked during that 20, 30 minutes and live questions like we do right now. The session's going to be the same from there on out. That's the first part. The second part is that there's going to be a YouTube channel associated with Chewing the Cud, and I'll put a link in my bio and that's live, but the full-length episode is going to get uploaded the following week onto the YouTube channel, and then I'm going to take that episode and cut it into useful clips, and those are all going to have titles, so it'll be easy to search and find, and that'll be on YouTube. So if you're thinking about like, oh, what did they talk about whether South Pole Bull would do well in South Africa, there'll be a clip containing something related to that topic on the YouTube channel. So if you're looking for like specific clips or something like that, like that's a great way to consume the content after the fact if you don't need to see it live. And then the third piece
Keeling Farms.
The third piece is that we're going to start bringing on guests every once in a while, and those guests are going to be interesting people in the regenerative agriculture space. Those episodes are not going to be on Sundays. They'll probably be whenever we can schedule it with that individual, and they're going to probably be a lot longer. Like the first chunk of it, I don't want it to be time constrained, so the first chunk of it is just going to be like back and forth, like sort of podcast interview style with that individual, and then we'll open it out to questions for the second part of the session. And yeah, exciting stuff coming on in the future, so stay tuned for that stuff. I'll like make posts and announcements about it like moving into the next episode, but they're gonna have to work out a bunch of kinks, so just be patient. Anyway, any more questions? Any more comments?
Keep them rolling.
Questions
We
about
always,
the new format. Questions about what places we've never visited. I don't know. Nice. Looking forward to it. When are the shirts and hats coming?
Wait,
shirts and hats.
Chewing
the Cud merch. Shirts and hats.
That'd be a good idea.
I don't know. We'll have to think about it. I'm I'm going. If anybody, I'm gonna do an official contest at some point down the road. I'm not sure when, but if anyone's like really good like graphic designer or like artist of any kind, and you want to come up with a official logo for Chewing the Cud that we can put on T-shirts and stuff like that, I'll like hit me up and like message me or something like that, and we'll see if we can work something out because that'd be super cool. I'd love to have an official logo that we can use on the YouTube channel, and then I can put on like maybe future merch or like stuff like that. So if anybody knows anybody, hit me up.
No.
And I'll probably make if we don't get one like randomly at some point, I'm gonna at some point on some like maybe the year anniversary of Chewing the Cud or like 2,000 subscribers or followers
we have a thought for that. We're not
gonna get into that, but
we have something we're thinking about.
But anyway, like on some commemorative occasion, I'll throw out a contest to make a logo for Chewing the Cud, and we'll see what happens. I think it's an interesting. It'd be a cool. It's like a cool. There's like a lot of different ways you could go with it,
Yeah.
Would you buy 014 if you were going to start your own herd? So, for background, for people who don't follow Greg's YouTube channel, 014 is a bull that was born this spring of 2020, and Greg has pointed him out over and over and over and over again on the YouTube channel because he's a good-looking bull.
Yeah.
He just matured early, and so he was way ahead of his counterparts. But
I think there's
at
going
this
to be
point,
10 other ones that look just like him,
or better. He's really good looking, and I would in a heartbeat would love to start a herd with it. The only thing to consider
his mother has
014
horns.
is his mother has horns, so
he might throw horned calves.
That's something that Greg hasn't really talked about a lot in the YouTube, is the fact that usually when we have bulls that have horned mothers, they're steers because he doesn't want to be throwing a ton of horns in his herd. So he'll probably end up getting sold as a bull to somebody who doesn't care about the fact that there could be some horns getting thrown around from his genetics.
He's a good bull, but
he's overhyped. He's way overhyped. Like he's really like he is like top.
I feel like
top material, but a lot of people like him because Greg keeps pointing him out. There's a ton of bulls in there that are like just as good as he is.
Yeah.
So, yes, I would. The short answer is yes. I would start a herd with 014.
Yep.
Let's see. I would stay, but my internet can't keep up. Sorry, it could also be us.
Yeah,
we have terrible signal. If it was up to you, what time of year would you start a new operation? Putting livestock on new ground that you just acquired? Good question.
That is a good question.
So if you just just were inherited, like it depends obviously on like where you're located in the world, and like are we talking desert? Are we talking Saskatchewan? Are we talking like fescue belt?
If you have a lot of thatch, maybe you start in the winter and feed hay.
Yeah.
Beat the thatch up a little bit, get some energy.
Are you starting from a crop field?
Yeah.
There's a like it's not just sort of like a blanket. Like you can see how like both of our wheels are starting to turn because it's not a blanket. Yeah. It's not a blanket statement.
I would say just start. Just go for it.
Yeah.
If it's in the spring, just make sure you got fence, water. It'll be easier to start in the summer when your water. You don't have to worry if you're in a colder climate. You don't have to worry about
freezing water.
But yeah, just start.
Yeah, I would say though that like the most forgiving would be at some point like late spring.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like that's when it like in this part of the world, that's when you should have tons of grass. Like you should just be able to like get a feel for it without having like a ton of curveballs being thrown at you.
But there's going to be curveballs.
But there's going to be curveballs right out of the bat. But like, yeah, I would say just start. I agree, but I don't know.
You're gonna make mistakes, but that's part of learning.
And the point about it's so land dependent and location dependent, and that's going to be the episode next week for people who are on right now. The topic is going to be location.
If
and the role of that.
If you're in the Midwest or somewhere like in the fescue belt, you got to keep in mind the land is super forgiving in this area of the country. Your cattle are going to be pretty forgiving. Like they can take a beating and still be okay, as long as you're staying in tune with what you're doing and really trying to be observant. I don't think you're gonna. I guess somebody can prove me wrong, but I don't think you're safer than it seems like it is.
Yes.
Like it's really like scary thinking about starting, but you're gonna like get started and you'll make some mistakes at the beginning, but once you start to do it, you'll get a feel for what it really takes and what you need to be doing different, and you'll learn. And
if you're really like apprehensive about it, get some sort of internship gig and learn like
or come to a grazing school.
Or come to that's a good idea.
That's a really good idea.
Come to a grazing school or something like that. And like just soak up a bunch of information.
Come to a farm tour. We do farm tours.
Yep.
We can talk to you there. We come to, what else? I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
But starting is the hardest part.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's this story of a guy that used to come to the grazing schools here. I forget how many times he came in a row. It was like 4 years in a row he came to the grazing schools. And Ian, who usually is here, he wasn't here last time, or at the last grazing school because of the COVID lockdown stuff in South Africa. But
and he probably won't be at the next
one.
Probably
won't be at the next one, which is a bummer. But
yeah.
Anyway, Ian like called him out and was like, "Why are you here? Like you've been here for 4 years in a row. Like what information, like could you possibly need that you haven't already heard?
Yeah.
And the guy just basically said that he was afraid to start, and that's the case for like a lot of people. Is like obviously there's a difference between being stupid and like not knowing anything and just like stumbling your way into it, but a lot of people have that like paralysis by analysis type thing where they're just like they want to plan and then they never do, and so sometimes you just gotta jump.
If you're watching Greg's videos, or if you're any bit in tune with what we're doing or what other people are doing similar to us,
you're so far ahead.
You're on the right path. You know where you've got your references or your information is coming from a good source. So go for it.
Go with confidence. Spring calves or fall calves?
Spring calves.
We do spring calves here, so I'm in the spring calf boat.
Yeah.
The argument for spring calves is that right when the calf is born, right when it needs its milk the most, the mother is getting a tremendous amount of nutrition from the forage, and so the milk quality is super high. She doesn't lose condition because she has tons of food. The calf gets tons of nutrients right as it's getting going, and the temperatures are great, and the flies are not too bad yet, and so it's just like it's in nature. There's a lot of spring-born animals in that like realm.
Where people have troubles with that is a spring-born calf. We're talking spring as in April, May, like
in central Missouri.
Like, the grass is starting to grow. It's warm. Then fast forward 7 months ahead, when maybe you're looking at weaning, you'd be looking at weaning in the hardest time of the year in order like to feed cattle, like stockers, which is like a young, a weaned calf, 600 pounds or something, 7 months old. They need the highest nutrition
out of any animal class.
Yeah, any age.
Yep.
And so in the wintertime, that's super hard to do without feeding grain or like winter annuals or stuff like that, like without bringing in some kind of supplement. So a lot of people that are weaning at 7 months, that's really hard to do.
Which is the reason why they calve in the fall.
Yeah. So then that's where we lead to fall calving. The cows calve in the fall when there's like the spring flush, then there's also a fall growth. And usually they try to hit it in that fall growth, which is like September-ish. And then the cow has enough nutrition to have enough milk, and then that cow has to take that calf through the winter on her own milk. The cow can survive on hay, and stockpile if they have it. She's not going to do the best, but that's part of like breeding the genetics into it. So then fast forward 7 months to that, from September or whatever that is. It's like coming into the spring flush when you would be weaning, which is when you have the highest nutrition in your forages. Then so weaning your calves,
they don't need milk.
They don't need any kind of grain or supplement. They can do it on grass, and so that's where fall calving comes.
But if you're in our boat where you don't wean anything,
it's way better for us to do spring.
There's no point to calve in the fall.
I don't think there's a definitive answer. I think it's more
depending on your management.
Yeah, based on what you.
And we calve concentrated in the spring, but the bulls are exposed from July 1st all the way through March 1st. And so there's basically starting in
July,
March?
Oh, no, April.
April. Starting from April 1st
to November
through till
December 1st.
December 1st. At any point in that window is when we would like them to calve. So we're not we concentrate in the spring, but it's like big rush of calves in the spring, and then this taper as we go through the fall, and then as we go through the summer, and then in the fall there's another spike of some calves, but nowhere near as big as the spike in the spring, and then a very steep taper as we head into December,
and then in January.
Then random calf born in January. That's not our fault. So
that wasn't our doing.
Here we go.
Greg's doing or whatever.
We are in Tennessee, but and if you could choose, would be the most ideal place to start your operation one day.
Tennessee is a good place.
Tennessee's a great place. Kentucky's a good place too.
Missouri, Arkansas.
The fescue belt. So this latitude,
Indiana, Ohio, but
north south of this latitude by a decent margin, and then heading east. That's from Missouri a little bit farther north, a little bit farther south, and then just draw a line to the Atlantic Ocean, and that's a good place to start.
We grow fescue in southern Michigan, so that's kind of like
the northern end of the range.
Maybe a little bit northern,
and they grow fescue in Arkansas, but if you get much farther south into Louisiana or whatever, you have trouble growing fescue down. It's too hot.
Grass, isn't it? Usually.
I don't know. Yeah, probably. And then as you go west, there becomes less and less fescue as you move through Oklahoma. There's still fescue in Kansas, but it's sort of. And so
more on the eastern side.
It's more the eastern side of Kansas. So
Tennessee is a good place though.
Really
it's
good.
A lot warmer in the winter there too.
And you can get more rain depending on where you are in Tennessee.
And you have a lot of, depending on where you're at in Tennessee, but if you're near the mountains, you have a lot more marginal land that couldn't be used for other things other than cattle.
Yeah.
So it's a good place to be. There's a lot of
we have a lot of customers from
Tennessee
and Kentucky area.
It's a good place to be.
That realm. Is there a minimum number of cows you'd suggest to start with? My sheep only total about 1,100 pounds.
I thought he was 1,100 head.
1,100
pound
body weight. So the whole
20.
So you have about 20 acres of hay or
animal units.
So 1.1 animal units. I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Southern Ohio, so kind of similar. The one thing I would say is we've talked about before, that 50 head is the minimum number that you need in order to not be worrying about inbreeding when you're line breeding. So that's
if you have 20 acres though.
Yeah, in this scenario that would not work. But if you're just talking about the minimum number you should suggest to start with, I don't know, I would try to get my hands on slightly more than 50 if I was doing it for production.
Yeah, I would say you can start with less.
Oh yeah.
But it's going to take a lot longer. And we've talked about this in other live streams.
Yep.
We've gone in deep detail
about how
line
to start.
breeding and all that kind of stuff.
But it's when you start going north of 50, essentially you just get a larger genetic pool to draw from. So you don't have to be buying in bulls on a regular basis to change your genetics up a little bit,
Yeah, if you could put together a solid group of 50, grass genetic cows or
Yep.
heifers or whatever, and then you had maybe 2
Yep.
South Pole bulls or something.
And
that would be ideal.
That'd be a good way to start.
It's small enough that you could probably afford it, even if,
Well, it's a good chunk of money.
that's a good chunk of money, but it's
Yeah.
not like, 300 head.
Yeah. We're not
But
talking
then it's
like...
big enough that you can
Yeah.
start growing quicker and start turning a profit quicker.
Yep.
But
Sheep, that's where your advantage comes in with sheep, is that they're just a lot cheaper and they multiply like rabbits.
yeah, that's
So-
the big advantage.
Yeah.
Is the how quickly.
Yeah.
A ewe can be born in May, and the following May can give you a lamb, and then the following May can give you twins. So in 2 years, she's quadrupled her own body.
Yeah.
Her own head in the herd.
Yeah.
That's 2 years. 4 of her.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. A cow takes 2 years to double
Yeah.
its own. So.
And like sometimes they calve at 3. And that's also like, that's fine. Like we sometimes prefer that. But
So then you think, well, actually it'd be more than that, because the first year, if she had a ewe lamb, then her ewe lamb would have another ewe lamb.
Yep.
So it'd be 5 times.
Yeah.
5 times herself, kind of.
Kind of. Yeah. But seriously, that's how it works.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
That's a wrap. That was about an hour. The new format, I think it went well. Great session, as always. We'll be here next week at 7:30, and the topic for next week is going to be location is everything, and we're going to be talking about where your operation is and like how that is the thing that you should be putting on a pedestal, is the like ecosystem that you find yourself in and the land that you find yourself in. So it should be a good discussion. I have a couple bullets and thoughts already. We'll talk about it beforehand and get a little something laid out.
It's gonna be cool.
It's gonna be cool.
This format.
Having a new format.
I'm looking forward to it.
So get ready for your thoughts about location and location. Next week, 7:30, Chewing the Cud, episode 29. Here. Out.
See ya.